Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take those really complex topics, look at all the angles, and basically give you a shortcut to getting good at them. Today, we're tackling something absolutely critical if you want to get ahead in today's global workplace: how to truly master professional English.
And this isn't just about learning extra words, is it? It's really about boosting your professional presence, how you come across. Our aim today is to give you a clear, actionable roadmap. We want to help you skip the stuff that doesn't work and really zero in on the language skills that matter for your career.
Right. We're focusing specifically on the English you need for business, managing teams remotely, handling international deals, writing those important reports.
Yeah, the language that actually gets things done.
That's really the heart of it. When we talk about professional English or, business English, it's kind of its own dialect, isn't it? It's used in those high-stakes situations. It covers how you structure formal emails, the way you need to be precise in presentations.
The politeness in negotiations, definitely. And the clarity you need in reports. It's really quite different from how you might chat with friends.
Worlds apart sometimes.
It really is. The key difference, I think, is that emphasis on clarity, absolute precision, politeness, and something really crucial, cultural sensitivity. You're shifting gears. You go from saying, maybe, can we chat about the budget later, to something more like, I propose we schedule a 30-minute review of the Q3 budget projections at your earliest convenience.
That level of formality, that precision, that signals professionalism.
It does. And that's why mastering this is such a game changer for so many people. You asked why putting effort into this specific communication style is such a huge lever for your career.
Yeah, what's the real impact?
Well, think about it. It basically removes a potential ceiling on your growth. If you've got great technical skills or brilliant ideas, but you struggle to articulate them professionally, that language gap becomes the main thing holding you back. Our research and plenty of other studies consistently show that strong professional English skills directly fuel career progress.
So we're talking promotions, moving into leadership.
Absolutely. Promotions, getting those senior leadership roles, opening doors for international assignments. It transforms you from someone who just contributes quietly into someone who's actively shaping strategy, influencing decisions on a global scale.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's break down how you actually start. You can't just vaguely say, I want better English. That won't cut it. So core tip 1, you've got to set clear goals that are directly linked to your career.
This is the foundation. Everything else builds on this. You need to figure out what professional English means for your specific job, your industry. If you're, say, in finance, you need to instantly get terms like ROI, return on investment, and handle complex financial jargon. If you're in pharma research, it's all about precision in reports, methodology.
Right, so how do you start?
First, figure out where you are now. Take a good online assessment, get a baseline. Then set those SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
I think the measurable part is often where people stumble. It's easy to say, I want to be fluent, but what does that even mean? Better to aim for something like, in 3 months, I will confidently lead our weekly team meeting using the correct technical terms. That's concrete. You know if you've knit it or not.
Exactly. And you've got to identify your specific weaknesses first. Don't waste energy on things you're already good at. Is it understanding idioms and emails? Or is it more about handling dense jargon and presentations? Pinpoint that weakness, and then you can focus your study time effectively, like a laser.
Okay, focus is key. And to keep that focus going, you mentioned a neat psychological trick, making a language vision board. Sounds a bit, does it work?
It really can. It connects that abstract goal-learning English to the real emotional driver, which is your career ambition. This isn't just sticking vocabulary lists on a board. It's about visualizing your future. Maybe it's a picture of the office you want or a slide from a big presentation you dream of giving.
Okay.
And you pair that image with the specific English skill that'll get you there. Like next to the picture of the corner office, you put a perfectly written sample email you want to be able to write effortlessly. It makes the language learning feel urgent, necessary for that future.
I get it. So let's take an example. Say someone's moving into manufacturing management. Their goal isn't just general speaking practice. It's about using authoritative, objective language. They need to practice phrases like, our new process is projected to boost efficiency by 20%, leading to substantial cost savings. Language that fits the role.
Precisely. The language has to match the professional context and the stakes involved.
Okay.
So once you've got that clear goal, that defined ambition, the next step is consistency, which brings us to core tip 2. Immerse yourself in professional content daily.
Right. You need to build that intuition for how professionals actually speak and write. And this takes regular exposure, like 20 or 30 minutes every day.
That's a good target. Consistency over quantity sometimes.
Yeah.
And you need to train your brain to just naturally recognize and use those formal patterns.
And the type of content matters, right? Not just any English source.
Crucially important. Forget generic language lessons for this. You need sources relevant to your field. Business podcasts specific to your industry, maybe TED Talks by leaders in your area, articles from places like Harvard Business Review or The Economist.
So quality input leads to quality output.
Exactly. And it has to be active engagement, not just having it on in the background. When you're listening, really listen. Notice how a speaker moves smoothly between ideas. Repeat key phrases out loud straight away. Get the sound, the rhythm, the professional cadence into your muscle memory.
And mixing up the formats helps too, like videos versus articles.
Yeah, very beneficial. Videos are great for picking up on body language, pronunciation details, intonation. Texts, like articles, are better for really digging into complex sentence structures and grabbing specific vocabulary. And here's a powerful sub-tip. After you read a challenging business article, try rewriting the main points in your own words.
Okay, so that's not just checking comprehension. Rewriting it forces you to actually use the language, the structures, the new terms you just encountered. It's like practicing writing an executive summary.
Got it. It forces synthesis and application, 2 steps that often get missed. And here's a simple trick to force daily immersion. Change the language settings on your work tools. LinkedIn, your email client, maybe even your phone calendar, switch them to English.
Oh, that's clever. Your work environment becomes your language lab.
Yeah, a low-stakes one. So if you hear a phrase on a leadership podcast like, "We must empower our teams to foster innovation," don't just note it down. Immediately try rephrasing it for your context. Maybe think, okay, in my team meeting, I can say, by focusing on empowering the team, we can drive more innovative solutions. Constant, relevant application. That's what builds fluency fast.
Okay, foundation set. Clear goals. Daily immersion. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts, the core mechanics. Starting with core tip 3, building a really robust professional vocabulary.
Your words are your tools. But this isn't about quantity over quality. You need a strategic approach. Forget memorizing random lists from the dictionary. Instead, aim for maybe 10 to 15 useful business terms each week. But go deep. Learn synonyms, how the word is actually used in different contexts. Just knowing the definition isn't enough when you're under pressure.
Right, context is everything. And how should you organize these terms?
Don't just list them alphabetically. That's not helpful. Group them by situation. Put all your meeting words together, agenda, minutes, action items. Keep them separate from your email words regards, attached further to our conversation.
Makes sense. Easier to recall when you're actually in that situation.
Exactly. And another tip, try linking complex terms to visuals. Take a word like stakeholder. Instead of just the definition, picture a network diagram. Different departments, investors, maybe external groups, all connected, all with an interest. That visual anchor helps the meaning stick and makes it faster to recall when you need it on the spot.
Let's take a common one, leverage. We hear it all the time. How would you practice that?
Don't just learn leverage means use. Practice the full phrase in context. Say it out loud. We can strategically leverage our existing resources to optimize long-term performance. Hi. Consciously try to use it in your next team strategy discussion. Make it automatic.
Okay, vocabulary strategy sorted. Now, writing skills. Core tip 4. Practice formal writing skills, focusing on clarity and tone. This feels critical, especially with remote work. Your emails are you in many ways.
They really are, and they leave a record, so precision matters hugely. Emails, proposals, reports, they represent you. You need daily practice here too. Start simple. Draft short, polite emails. Then build up to longer reports or proposals.
And tools like Grammarly can help.
They can catch errors, yes. But more importantly, get feedback from people. Trusted colleagues who are strong writers, maybe a tutor. Ask them specifically about your tone and structure, not just grammar.
What should the focus be?
Use standard templates or structures. Start formally. Dear name, I am writing too. Keep the tone polite, professional, concise, and crucially, make it action-oriented. Business writing isn't usually just description. It's about getting something done.
You mentioned a nuance here, active versus passive voice. That can be tricky.
It can. Everyday English usually prefers active voice. I finished the report. But in formal business writing, especially reports, you often see passive voice. The data was compiled and analyzed. Why? It shifts the focus to the action or the result itself, sounds more objective, less personal, Getting that right is a sign of more advanced professional writing.
That's a great point. So it's about choosing the right style for the context.
Yes, and a really valuable exercise is the formal rewrite. Take a casual message you might send internally like, hey, free to chat next week about the vendor, and force yourself to upgrade it. Turn it into, I propose we schedule a brief 20-minute discussion regarding the new vendor strategy at your earliest convenience next week. Doing that exercise regularly trains your formality muscle.
Okay, let's picture a real-world email. A project update. What's the structure?
Subject line needs to be clear and informative. Something like, Project Atlas update. Status green, milestone review needed. Body, state the purpose clearly. Call to action, be specific. Please review the attached report and provide feedback by EOD Friday. And define EOD if needed, end of day or end of business day. No ambiguity.
Deadlines need to be crystal clear.
Always. Professional closing. Regards, or best regards, your name. Simple, standard, professional.
Right. Now, the big one for many people, speaking. Core tip 5, honing speaking and presentation skills. This is where confidence really comes into play.
The crucible, as you say. Meetings, pitches, interviews, it all requires preparation and practice.
And practicing aloud is crucial, isn't it? Not just in your head.
Absolutely essential. Record yourself giving a presentation, then listen back, but be critical. Focus on two things: pace and clarity. Are you rushing through complex points? Are you mumbling? Especially if you're presenting data, you need to slow down and enunciate clearly. Make it easy for everyone to follow, including non-native speakers.
What about those fillers, the ums and uhs?
Ah, yes, the confidence killers. You need to consciously work on replacing them, not with silence necessarily, but with strategic pauses. A short, deliberate pause actually sounds confident. It gives you a moment to think. It gives the audience a moment to digest, much better than filling the space with, or like. Joining a group like Toastmasters can be invaluable for practicing this in a supportive environment.
Good tip. And preparation isn't just the presentation itself, right? It's the Q&A too.
Definitely. You have to anticipate the tough questions. What are the 2 or 3 most challenging things someone might ask? Prepare your answers beforehand. Practice delivering them smoothly. Use transition phrases like, that's a valid concern, and our approach to mitigate that is.
And you mentioned mirror practice. Does that really help?
It sounds simple, but it's surprisingly effective. Stand in front of a mirror and deliver your points. Watch yourself. You'll notice things about your body language, your eye contact, maybe nervous habits you weren't aware of. Remember, how you look when you speak is often just as important as the words you use. Nonverbal cues matter.
Okay. And starting strong in a meeting or presentation.
Critical. You need a compelling opening line that grabs attention and sets the agenda. Practice something clear and authoritative like, good morning. Today I'll outline our proposed Q3 strategy, focusing on key metrics and immediate actionable steps. Take control from the start. All right, moving into section 3. This is all about dynamic interaction. Studying alone is fine, but real progress comes from using the language. Which leads us to core tip 6. Engage in role-playing for real scenarios.
Because the workplace isn't scripted, is it? Things come up unexpectedly. Role-playing helps you practice thinking on your feet.
Exactly. You need that adaptability for spontaneous, sometimes high-pressure conversations. Simulate everything you can think of. Salary negotiations, handling a difficult client call, giving constructive feedback, even navigating minor disagreements with colleagues.
How should you structure these role-plays?
Start with scripts, maybe, just to internalize the right kind of polite, professional phrasing. But quickly move to improvisation. That's where the real learning happens. And switch roles often. Be the boss one minute, the employee the next. Be the demanding client, then the person trying to find a solution. Practice speaking up and down the hierarchy.
And you mentioned analyzing recordings, like game film for athletes.
Yes, record your role play sessions. Then listen back critically. Don't just listen for grammar mistakes. Those are often the easiest to fix. Listen for your intonation. Did you sound confident? Hesitant? Listen for your pace. Did you respond quickly and coherently? This kind of self-analysis really speeds up your improvement. You start noticing patterns in your own speech.
Can you give an example, like in a negotiation?
Sure. Let's say a client wants an unrealistic deadline. Instead of just saying no, you practice a constructive compromise. Something like, I understand the urgency completely. Looking at our current resource allocation, we can realistically commit to accelerating the timeline by 5%. How about we collaborate to meet in the middle, ensuring we maintain the quality standards?
Right. It's assertive, but also polite and solution-focused.
That's the tone you're aiming for. Okay, moving on. Core tip 7 is about not trying to do this all alone. Seek professional guidance and feedback. Learning in isolation is tough because you often can't spot your own mistakes, pronunciation habits, maybe etiquette slip-ups, ingrained grammar errors.
So finding a tutor or a specialized course.
Yes, leveraging expertise. Look for tutors, maybe on platforms like Preply, who specialize in business English, or find courses tailored to your field. The language needs for someone in tech support are very different from someone in international law, for example. So choose programs relevant to your industry.
And when you ask for feedback, be specific.
Please do. Don't just ask, how did I sound? Ask something targeted. Was my use of hedging language appropriate in that negotiation scenario? Or, can you critique my pronunciation of these specific technical terms? Specific questions get specific, actionable answers.
Makes sense. What about finding a language buddy?
Great idea, especially if you can find someone in your professional field. You can critique each other's emails, practice presentations, hold each other accountable. Practicing something like your elevator pitch, that quick 30-second summary of what you do, is much more effective if the other person actually understands your industry context.
Good point. Now, something often overlooked. Core tip 8, incorporating listening and comprehension drills. Because understanding is half the battle, right?
At least half, especially with different global accents and fast-paced speech.
Yeah.
You need to train your ear.
How do you practice that effectively?
Use real-world business audio. Listen to company earnings calls that are often publicly available. Listen to specialized industry webinars, or even fast-paced business news channels. Pay attention not just to the words, but the pace, the accents, and definitely the idioms.
What are some advanced techniques here?
Try transcribing short audio clips. It forces you to listen incredibly closely to catch every sound. It's challenging, but very effective. Another one is shadowing. You basically repeat what the speaker says almost simultaneously, trying to mimic their exact intonation, rhythm, and speed. It trains your ear and your mouth together.
And idioms. Business English is full of them.
It is. You need to know them. When someone in a meeting says, let's circle back on that, you need to instantly understand they mean, we'll discuss this later, maybe offline, not let's discuss it now. Misunderstanding idioms can really cause problems.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, finally in this section, core tip 9, using technology for efficient learning. We should leverage the tools available.
Absolutely. There are amazing tools now. Apps specifically designed for conversation practice, some using AI, like lilypad.ai. They can provide a safe space to practice speaking. The advantage of AI tutors is often the immediate, non-judgmental feedback on things like fluency, grammar, even pronunciation details. You can practice, get corrected, and try again instantly.
And gamification can help keep you motivated.
It can, for some people, yes. Earning points, tracking streaks, it can make the daily practice feel less like a chore. Use the analytics these apps provide too. Track your progress, number of new words learned, minutes spent speaking. Seeing measurable progress is motivating.
You also mentioned integrating tech into your workspace.
Yes, small changes can help. Switch your keyboard layout to English. Use voice assistants in English for professional queries. Even simple things like physically labeling items in your office with their English terms. Put a label conference room on the door. Stick an agenda template nearby. Have staff lounge instead of kitchen. It just keeps the language visible and present in your daily routine.
All right, let's talk about getting results faster. Section 4 is about acceleration hacks working smarter, not just harder.
Maximizing efficiency. First up, mnemonics. These are memory aids, essential for quickly locking down complex jargon or models. Take something like the SWOT analysis framework, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Don't just try to brute force memorize it. Create a memorable story or acronym. Maybe something silly like Super Warriors often triumph. Whatever works for you to make it stick instantly.
Okay, memory tricks. What about managing study time, the Pomodoro technique?
Yes. We usually think of Pomodoro, those focused 25-minute work bursts with short breaks for productivity. But it's brilliant for language learning too. The key insight is focus. Instead of trying to do everything in one long, tiring session, dedicate one Pomodoro just to vocabulary. Say, really mastering the term benchmarking. Then the next Pomodoro, do a speaking drill where you use benchmarking multiple times.
So you switch focus frequently to avoid burnout and improve retention.
Exactly. It keeps your brain fresh and helps consolidate learning much better, especially for adult learners.
Personalized flashcards are next, using apps like Anki.
Yeah, apps like Anki are great. But the real power comes from adding context. Don't just put the word on the front, put the phrase, like mitigate risks. Then on the back, don't just put the definition, put the context. In project management, we mitigate risks by having contingency plans. Maybe even add a short audio clip of yourself saying the phrase professionally.
That sounds much more useful than just word definition.
Much more. Now, dealing with fast speech, a major hurdle. The trick is speed-adjusted audio. Find relevant audio like business news clips on YouTube or executive interviews. Start listening at 0.75x speed. Practice until you can understand everything perfectly. Then nudge it up to 1.0x. Then maybe even 1.25x. Train your ear gradually to handle the speed of real-world conversations.
That's a practical way to prepare for fast-paced meetings. And what about applying this online, like on LinkedIn?
Don't just be a passive observer on professional platforms. Use them as your practice ground. It's real-world application with relatively low stakes. Comment on posts or articles relevant to your field. Use some of the professional phrasing you've been practicing. Prepare a few templates if it helps. Like, that's an insightful point regarding supply chain resilience. In my experience, effectively tracking KPIs, key performance indicators, is crucial when...
So actively participate using the target language.
Yes. It builds confidence and visibility. Now let's talk about integrated practices, things that weave the learning into your daily routine. Journaling.
Professional journaling, yes. Taking a few minutes each day to write a summary of your workday in English. But the key is to consciously include the new professional terms or phrases you learned or used that day. For example, today's challenge involved explaining budget variances. I used the term cost allocation effectively.
Reinforces the learning through application. And group study can work too, if it's structured. Form a small accountability group. Don't just chat assign roles. One person chairs a discussion, another leads a debate on a relevant business topic like the pros and cons of hybrid work models. Insist on using appropriate business vocabulary throughout.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete with real-world examples. Formal email structure again. An introduction email.
Right. Subject needs to be direct, maybe. Introduction. Potential collaboration opportunity, your company and their company. Body. State your purpose immediately. I came across your work in X field and see potential synergies. Call to action. Clear and polite. Would you be open to a brief introductory call next week?
And a follow-up email after a meeting.
Start with thanks. Thank you for your time yesterday. It was productive discussion. Summarize key actions decisions. As agreed, I will circulate the revised proposal by EOB Wednesday. Professional closing, best regards, etc. Notice the specific deadline, EOB Wednesday. Crucial clarity.
Okay. And a meeting dialogue. Let's say a project kickoff.
The chair might start. Okay, team, let's quickly review the agenda. Project goals, key milestones, and initial resource assignments. Your contribution needs to be framed professionally. My team will be primarily focused on coordinating resources across departments to meet the Q2 deadline. And if addressing a risk, we've identified a potential bottleneck in component supply. We plan to mitigate this by securing a backup supplier by end of week. See, clear, professional, action-oriented language. So we've covered the strategies, the hacks. Now let's talk about inspiration and reality. Section 5 looks at real success stories, challenges, and resources. Hearing how others did it can be really motivating.
Absolutely. Let's start with Marta. She was a manager from Poland working in a Swiss tech company, very smart, technically brilliant, but she felt her ideas were getting stuck, lost in translation during important meetings because her delivery was hesitant, maybe a bit awkward.
A common frustration. Her breakthrough wasn't just slow, steady practice. She really dived into intense immersion daily role-playing of tough negotiations, shadowing complex business presentations online. A pivotal board meeting. She had to present a complex cost-saving strategy, and she nailed it. Articulated everything flawlessly, using strong, precise terms like streamline operations, optimize throughput. That command of language, combined with her expertise, was undeniable. It led directly to a senior leadership promotion. It really shows how targeted practice translates into executive presence.
Wow, great story. Then there's Svetlana from Ukraine working in customer support. Formal emails were her nightmare, apparently. It was holding her back.
Yeah, she found writing those client emails really stressful. So she got specialized tutoring, focusing only on the language needed for logistics and handling client issues, lots of role-playing crisis scenarios.
And did it pay off?
Massively. A real client crisis hit, high stakes. But because she practiced, her communication was incredibly clear, calm, and reassuring. She used phrases like, "We can expedite delivery immediately. Let's resolve this swiftly." She sorted the problem out so efficiently, it really impressed management. Result: promotion to global coordinator, handling international projects. Her ROI, return on investment, for that focused learning was huge, both for her and the company.
Fantastic. And one more, John Kim, an engineer from Korea, brilliant technically, but struggled to get his ideas across assertively in English discussion.
Right, a common challenge for people from cultures where directness might be different. He focused specifically on technical jargon mastering terms like scalability, feasibility, prototype iterations, but also on the tone, learning to shift from, say, I think maybe we could, to a more confident, polite, but firm. Based on the data, I recommend we proceed with option B.
That subtle shift makes a big difference in how you're perceived.
Huge. He ended up successfully leading a major project pitch, confidently discussing the technical and business aspects, and secured the funding. It proves that even in highly technical fields, mastering that professional tone is key.
These stories are powerful. They show it's possible. But let's be real, it's not always easy. What are the common roadblocks and how do you get past them? Time is always a big one.
Always. The solution is microlearning. Use those small pockets of time. 10 minutes waiting for a meeting. Review flashcards on your phone. Commute time. Listen to a relevant podcast snippet. Squeeze it in. Another issue is hitting a plateau. Feeling stuck.
Yeah, when progress seems to stop, what then?
Switch things up. If you've been hammering vocabulary, pivot to intensive speaking practice for a week. If you've been focused on writing, do some deep listening comprehension. Changing the focus often breaks through the plateau. Keep your brain challenged.
And confidence. Feeling nervous about actually using the English?
That's huge. Start small, start safe. Practice new phrases or structures in internal emails first with colleagues you trust. Lower stakes. Build confidence there before you use it in a high-pressure client meeting or presentation.
Gradual exposure makes sense. And cultural nuances. That seems like a minefield.
It can be. You have to be an active observer. Watch business interactions in movies or TV shows from different cultures. Listen to international colleagues carefully. Notice the differences in directness. Like British English often uses understatement, there seem to be a few minor issues, might mean this is a total disaster. American English tends to be more direct. Understanding that spectrum is vital for global communication.
Definitely need to pay attention to that. Okay, so besides the specific tools we've mentioned, what are some essential resources for ongoing support?
Look for quality online courses, specifically focused on business English communication skills. Platforms like Coursera often have good options from universities. Use apps designed for language learning through authentic content, like Fluency, which uses real business videos. And join online communities, specific subreddits like Our Business English or relevant LinkedIn groups. You can ask questions, share experiences, even find practice partners. #TakeTag outro.
Wow, that was a really thorough deep dive. We've covered a lot, from setting goals to specific practice techniques and overcoming challenges. I think the core message is pretty clear. Mastering professional English isn't just a nice to have, it's a serious investment in your career. It takes consistent effort, practice that's targeted to your needs, and the courage to actually use it.
And hopefully, the stories of Marta, Svetlana, and John Kim provide some real inspiration. They saw that language was the main thing holding them back from their potential, and they tackled it strategically. The tools and roadmap are there.
Absolutely. So to get you started this week, we want to leave you with a specific challenge, a provocative thought. What's the one piece of complex industry jargon or maybe a technical concept that you really need to nail in English? The one thing that, if you could explain it perfectly and confidently, would significantly boost your professional standing.
Identify that one thing. Then pick one of the acceleration hacks we talked about, maybe a mnemonic, maybe creating some contextual flashcards, and make a plan to truly own that term or concept this week.
Start there. Be consistent. And you'll likely be surprised at how your professional world starts to open up.
Small steps, big impact.
Exactly. Well, this has been incredibly insightful. If this deep dive has given you actionable steps for your career, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps others find this too. Until our next deep dive, keep learning, keep practicing.
Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, 1 hour English listening practice podcast, part 2, topic name is Communication Skills in Professional English. And welcome to the deep dive. This is where we really get into the nitty-gritty of professional skills and break them down into things you can actually use, like right away. If you're working internationally or even just in a diverse team, you already know this, professional English isn't just nice to have anymore. It's basically essential for getting ahead. Today, we're doing a really big deep dive into communication skills specifically for the professional world. We've pulled together a lot of insights and practical advice, almost like a blueprint, really. It's aimed at, professionals who are ambitious, maybe English isn't your first language, or you're just aiming for those bigger roles where how you communicate is, frankly, everything. Our goal today is pretty straightforward, to help you move past that that feeling of anxiety, maybe, searching for the right word in a tough meeting.
And instead, get you to a place where you can deliver, say, a persuasive presentation or just communicate clearly and confidently day in, day out. It's more than just language. It's like unlocking a kind of career superpower.
I like that, career superpower, because that's exactly it. We're not just talking about speaking English perfectly, are we? The real goal is effective communication. Can you use the team conflict, or maybe synthesize a complex strategy in a way that actually inspires people across different offices, maybe even different countries? It's about applying the language where mistakes, well, they really cost something.
Right, the stakes are higher.
Definitely higher.
So let's lay the groundwork then. What are we actually talking about when we say professional communication? Is it just talking in meetings?
Oh, it's much broader than that. Think of it like 4 interconnected pillars, all vital in a work context. First, yes, speaking, obvious one, presentations, meetings, negotiations, even just networking.
Right.
Second, and this one's often, maybe underestimated, listening, truly active listening. It's fundamental for trust and accuracy. Third is writing. Your emails, reports, proposals, they need to be clear, concise, professional. And the fourth pillar, which can sometimes have the biggest impact, honestly, nonverbal cues. Your body language, posture, eye contact, facial expressions, they're communicating constantly.
It sounds comprehensive, but why the intense focus? Don't people just kind of pick this stuff up as they go along?
Yeah.
Improve naturally.
Well, hoping to just pick it up is a bit risky in today's environment. The data you see is pretty stark. Poor communication. It's a major reason projects fail. It leads to team conflicts, costly misunderstandings. It just drains resources.
Right.
But on the flip side, research consistently shows that professionals who actively work on their communication skills, they're the ones who tend to get promoted faster, they step into leadership roles sooner, and they generally show higher productivity. There's a real measurable link to career success.
Okay, so it's a skill worth investing in, clearly.
Yeah.
When you talk about professional communication, what makes it different from just, chatting with friends?
Good question. There are layers. 3 key things stand out immediately in a professional context. First, formality. You have to get the register right. Knowing when to say, I appreciate your input on this matter, instead of just, got it, thanks, is really important. It shows respect for the context, the hierarchy.
Okay, formality. Makes sense. What else?
Second, precision. In casual chat, a bit of vagueness, well, it's fine. But in business, vagueness is, like you said earlier, the enemy.
Right. It leads to errors.
Exactly. Ambiguity costs time, money, reputation. You can't afford to be unclear. We should meet sometime soon. That's useless professionally. Let's schedule a call for Tuesday at 2 p.m. to finalize the contract details. That's precise. Everyone knows what's happening.
Okay, precision. Got it. And the third layer?
This one's really interesting. Cultural awareness. This is where the real nuance comes in, especially in global business.
Yeah.
You might be used to very direct communication, say in a Western context, but that directness can be seen as, well, blunt or even aggressive in other cultures.
Especially with negative feedback.
Especially then. In some cultures, you need to be much more indirect, more guarded, to help the other person save face and maintain the relationship. Direct criticism can just shut things down. So, learning to navigate those cultural differences in communication style, it's absolutely non-negotiable if you're working internationally or leading diverse teams.
That's a huge point. Okay, so if we're building this foundation, we need some kind of mental model, right? A checklist.
Yes, and that brings us to a really useful framework. The 5 C's. This is like your instant quality check for any piece of professional communication, whether it's a quick email or a formal report.
The 5 C's. Let's break those down.
Okay, first C. Is it clear? Can the person receiving your message immediately understand the main point? Or do they have to reread it trying to figure out what you want? Clarity first.
Makes sense. Second C.
Cohesive. Does it all hang together logically? Does the information flow smoothly from one point to the next? If you're jumping around between topics without clear transitions, it lacks cohesion. It needs to build a single understandable argument or narrative.
Right, it needs to flow. Okay, third.
Complete. Have you given the recipient all the information they actually need, the context, the data, the next steps? If they have to email you back just to ask basic clarifying questions, your initial message wasn't complete, it just creates inefficiency.
Avoids that frustrating back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fourth C, concise. This is about respecting people's time. Are you using 10 words when 5 would do? Cut the fluff. Get to the point efficiently.
Be brief, be brilliant, be gone.
Something like that. And finally, the fifth C, concrete. Are your statements grounded in reality? Are you using specific facts, data, examples? Vague generalizations are easy to dismiss. Concrete details, specific evidence, that's what persuades people. That's what makes your communication stick.
Clear, cohesive, complete, concise, concrete. Okay, I can see how running any message through that filter would instantly improve it.
It really does. It forces a level of discipline.
All right, that framework sets a great foundation. Now let's get into the practical toolkit. You mentioned 14 essential strategies. Sounds like a lot.
It does, but think of them as integrated tools, not just a long checklist. They draw on insights from experts, people who train leaders at, top institutions. We'll group them a bit.
Okay, let's start with some immediate impact strategies. Where do we begin?
Let's start with strategy 1. Be clear and concise. We just touched on this with the 5 C's, but it's worth hammering home. Conciseness respects the listener's time.
And you mentioned it's a trap for non-native speakers sometimes, feeling they need to over-explain.
It is. There's often an urge to use complex vocabulary or long sentences to sound perhaps more proficient. But usually, simple, direct language is much more powerful. And structurally, get your main point out up front. Start with the conclusion or the key message, then provide the supporting details. It makes it so much easier for the listener.
We had that great example earlier. Instead of that long winding, I was wondering if you might possibly have some time to potentially discuss.
Right, all that hedging.
Just say, let's schedule a 15-minute call to review project updates. Boom. Direct, confident, respects their time.
Huge difference. Okay, moving to strategy 2. Prepare ahead. Preparation is honestly the best antidote to communication anxiety.
But what does good preparation look like, beyond just reviewing your notes 5 minutes before a meeting?
It's deeper. 3 levels, really. First, research and verify your facts. Don't go in with assumptions. Second, anticipate the tough questions. Think. What are the 3 hardest challenges or objections someone might raise? And prepare your answers. That removes the fear of being caught off guard.
Okay, anticipate the curveballs.
Exactly. And third, gather your support. Bring the data, the concrete examples. If you're in a negotiation, you don't just say, this is a fair price. You say, based on our Q3 analysis here, this price reflects X, Y, and Z, and it's backed by our quality guarantee, which you can see detailed in this appendix. You use evidence to make your case solid.
Okay, so preparation is about facts, anticipating questions, and having proof. Got it.
All right.
Now, the big one. Nonverbal cues and gestures. This covers tips 3 and 10, right?
Yes, and this is where things get really fascinating. That statistic that nonverbals can account for anywhere from 65% to, some studies say, even 93% of the impact of your message. It's staggering.
It means you could say all the right words, but if your body language is sending a different signal.
The audience believes the body language. Almost every time. If you say, I'm confident, but you're slumped, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, they're reading anxiety or uncertainty, not confidence.
So we need to both read others' cues and manage our own.
Both are critical. Learn to notice things like crossed arms often signals defensiveness or disagreement. But crucially, manage your own signals. Leaning forward slightly shows engagement. Maintaining good eye contact, not staring, but connecting shows you're present and interested. And there's a subtle technique called mirroring, gently matching the posture or gestures of the person you're talking to. It can build rapport subconsciously quite quickly.
What about hands? We often don't know what to do with our hands.
Hands are incredibly expressive. Think about their message. If you're delivering difficult news, maybe keep them calm, perhaps lightly clasped. But if you're inviting collaboration or brainstorming, using open palms when you say something like, we're open to all ideas here, physically reinforces that message of openness. It's a small thing, but it adds impact.
Okay, powerful stuff. So we've covered clarity, preparation, and body language. What about the sound of our communication?
Right. Let's talk strategy 4. Watch your tone. Tone is huge. It conveys your underlying emotion and intent, sometimes more than the words themselves.
And it applies to both speaking and writing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. When speaking, varying your pitch and volume is key. A monotone voice is, well, boring. It signals disinterest. Modulating your voice keeps listeners engaged and lets you emphasize key points. In writing, especially email, tone is notoriously tricky. Things can come across as harsh or sarcastic unintentionally.
So how do you check your written tone?
The best trick: read it aloud before you hit send. Seriously. Hearing in the words often reveals a tone may be aggressive, maybe passive-aggressive, maybe overly stiff that you just didn't notice when reading silently.
That's a great practical tip. And vital for things like de-escalation, right? When things get tense.
Crucial. Think about disagreeing. Saying that's wrong is likely to escalate things. The tone is confrontational. But shifting the tone and phrasing to something like, I see that point, but I have a slightly different perspective. Could we explore other options to make sure we land on the best approach? That invites collaboration. It challenges the idea, not the person. The tone is constructive.
That collaborative tone leads nicely into the next set of strategies focused on active listening. Tips 5 and 14, I believe. You mentioned the 2 ears, 1 mouth idea.
Yes, that old wisdom really holds true professionally. Active listening isn't passive. It's not just waiting for your turn to talk. It's hard work. It means consciously eliminating distractions, put the phone down, close unnecessary tabs on your laptop, give the speaker your full attention.
And showing you're engaged.
Yes, visually nodding, maintaining eye contact, and verbally with small acknowledgments like, okay, I see. But real active listening goes deeper. You need to probe. Ask clarifying questions. Could you tell me more about the challenges you foresee with that timeline? It shows you're not just hearing, you're processing and thinking critically about what's being said.
And paraphrasing seems like a really useful tool here too.
Incredibly useful. Paraphrasing is like your confirmation step. After someone explains something complex, you summarize it back in your own words. Okay, so just to make sure I've got this right, you're suggesting we prioritize feature A this quarter and push feature B to Q3, assuming we get the extra resources.
Right. It catches misunderstandings before they happen.
Exactly. It gives them an immediate chance to say, well, actually not quite, or yes, that's it. It prevents costly mistakes down the line.
And the other part of listening, tip 14, is about not interrupting. That can be hard when you're eager to jump in.
It is hard. But interrupting, even with good intentions, often sends a message of disrespect. It implies your point is more important than theirs. You need to cultivate the patience to let the speaker finish their thought completely before you transition smoothly. It shows respect for their contribution.
Okay, listening is clearly a complex skill. And managing all this tone, listening, nonverbals, seems to tie into strategy 6. Building emotional intelligence. EQ.
It absolutely does. EQ is sort of the operating system that helps you manage yourself and your interactions effectively, especially the difficult ones.
EQ sounds a bit abstract, though. How does it work in practice?
It's actually very practical. Think about the core components. Self-awareness, recognizing your own emotions as they happen. Self-regulation, managing those emotions constructively. Motivation, empathy, understand others' perspectives even if you don't agree. And social skills, building rapport, handling conflict. In a professional setting, this becomes critical in, say, giving feedback or handling disagreements.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you're frustrated because a deadline was missed. Without EQ, you might lash out. You missed the deadline again. This is unacceptable. Very accusatory. With EQ, you practice self-awareness, recognizing your frustration, and self-regulation, choosing a constructive response. You might say, using an I statement, I'm feeling concerned about the project timeline slipping. Could we talk about what happened and figure out a plan together to get back on track? See the difference?
Yeah, one attacks, the other invites problem solving. Focuses on the issue, not the person.
Precisely. It preserves the relationship while still addressing the problem. That's EQ in action.
Okay, powerful tools for managing the interaction itself. Now let's shift to delivery, actually getting your message across effectively. For many non-native speakers, strategy 9, speak slowly and clearly, is probably a big one.
It's absolutely crucial, especially when you're presenting complex information or speaking to an audience with diverse language backgrounds. Rushing makes you harder to understand. When you consciously slow down your pace, a few things happen. You give yourself more time to think, to choose the right words. You tend to enunciate more clearly. And it helps eliminate those filler words, the ums and ahs, that can undermine your credibility. Pausing strategically can also add emphasis.
How can people practice this? It feels unnatural sometimes to slow down.
Recording yourself is key. Use your phone, record yourself giving a short presentation or explaining a concept. Then listen back critically. Are you rushing? Mumbling? Using too many fillers? It can be a bit cringy to listen to yourself initially, but it's incredibly effective for identifying habits you didn't even know you had.
Okay, self-analysis through recording. Good tip. Now, once we're speaking clearly, how do we make the message memorable? That brings us to strategy 11. Communicate through stories. Why stories in a business context?
Because pure data and facts, while important, often don't stick. Stories connect with people on an emotional level. They make abstract concepts feel tangible and relatable. A good story has structure, right? A beginning, the situation or problem. A middle, the action taken or challenge faced. And an end, the result or lesson learned. If you can weave your key message into a brief, relevant story, it's far more likely to resonate and be remembered than just stating the message baldly.
Can you give a quick example of how that might work?
Sure. Let's say you're trying to convince your team to adopt a new collaborative process. Instead of just listing benefits, you could say, remember the Project Phoenix deadline last quarter? Beginning the challenge. We had those frantic last 2 days trying to integrate everyone's updates manually. Middle the struggle. If we'd had this new process then, it would have saved us probably a day's worth of rework and a lot of stress. And the benefit result. That's the kind of efficiency I'm talking about. See? It makes the benefit concrete through a shared experience.
Yeah, that lands much better than just saying, this will improve efficiency. Okay, stories are powerful. What about the voice itself? Strategies 12 and 13 cover voice modulation and projection.
Right. How you use your voice impacts your perceived authority and keeps listeners engaged. A flat, monotone delivery signals boredom or lack of confidence. Modulating your voice means varying your pitch, high-low, and volume, loud-soft. You don't need to be overly dramatic, but subtle shifts can make a big difference. For example, you might slightly raise your volume and pitch on a key phrase to emphasize its importance. And this is the critical deadline we cannot miss. It draws attention.
And projection. That's not just about being loud, is it?
No, definitely not just shouting. Projection is about using your breath support, breathing from your diaphragm, so your voice carries clearly and resonates without straining. If you have to speak in a larger room or without a microphone, practicing projection is important. It makes you sound more confident and ensures everyone can hear you comfortably. It's a physical skill you can develop.
Okay, so clarity, preparation, nonverbals, tone, listening, EQ, pace, stories, and voice control. Yeah. That's a comprehensive toolkit.
It covers a lot of ground.
Now let's talk about speeding things up. The toolkit is great, but people want quick wins too. You mentioned some clever tricks for faster progress.
Yeah, these are more like focus techniques or hacks, if you like, that can give you a boost relatively quickly. They often leverage psychology a bit.
Okay, hit me with trick 1. Focus practice using time boxing, like the Pomodoro technique.
Exactly like that. The idea is intense focus on one specific skill for a short burst, say 25 minutes. So for 25 minutes, you might only work on writing concise email subject lines. Then maybe take a short break, and for the next 25 minutes, you practice only active listening by transcribing a short business dialogue. It prevents feeling overwhelmed by trying to improve everything at once. Hyper-focus for short periods.
I like that. Bite-sized practice. Trick 2. Shadow professional videos. What does shadowing mean here?
It's more than just listening. You find a video of a skilled communicator, maybe a TED Talk speaker, a business leader giving an interview, and you try to speak along with them, mimicking their speech patterns in real time. You're copying their rhythm, their intonation, where they pause, where they put emphasis. It helps train your mouth and brain to adopt more natural-sounding professional English cadence. It's like muscle memory for speech.
Interesting. Okay, trick 3. Role play with AI tools. This sounds very current.
It is, and it's incredibly useful because it's a safe space.
Yeah.
You can use tools like ChatGPT. Give it a role. You are a demanding client unhappy about a project delay. Ask me difficult questions. Then you practice responding, typing, or even speaking your answers. You can try out different phrasings, practice using those I statements for EQ, work on staying calm under simulated pressure, all without risking a real relationship.
Low stakes, high repetition. Great for building confidence. Trick 4. The 3-second response rule. This sounds intriguing.
This one targets that hesitation many learners have, where they mentally translate or try to perfect the sentence before speaking. It often leads to awkward pauses. The rule is simple. When asked a question in a meeting or conversation like, "What are your thoughts on this?" You force yourself to start speaking within 3 seconds.
Wow, okay. Even if the first words aren't perfect.
Even then. The goal is to train your brain for quicker retrieval and delivery, to prioritize getting the thought out over achieving grammatical perfection in that instant. It builds fluency and confidence under pressure.
That sounds challenging but effective. Trick 5. Build a phrase bank journal.
This is about actively collecting useful professional language. Don't just learn single words. Collect whole phrases or sentence chunks you hear or read. Things like, "Let's circle back to that point," or "Could you elaborate on the potential risks?" Or, to play devil's advocate for a moment, write them down in a dedicated notebook or file. Then consciously try to use them in your own speaking and writing. It quickly elevates your language beyond basic vocabulary.
So you're actively harvesting professional language.
Yeah.
Nice. And the last hack, Trick 6, mirror practice.
This ties back directly to the nonverbal cues we discussed. Practice delivering a short pitch or handling a difficult conversation point while looking in a mirror. It gives you immediate, honest feedback. Do your facial expressions match your words? Are you standing confidently? Are you making eye contact with your reflection? Do you have any distracting nervous habits? If you're saying, I'm fully confident in this plan, but your reflection shows slumped shoulders and a worried frown, you know there's a disconnect you need to fix. It builds self-awareness.
Okay, those 6 tricks seem like very actionable ways to get some momentum quickly.
They are. They focus on specific actions you can take today.
So we have the foundational strategies, we have the acceleration tricks. How do people bring this all together? How do you move towards real mastery?
Integration is key. It's not enough to know these things, you have to make them habits. This means building communication practice into your daily routine. Maybe you dedicate 15 minutes each morning to reviewing your emails, specifically looking for the 5 C's. Maybe you use your commute to do some shadowing practice, like we mentioned. Small, consistent actions build up over time.
And feedback remains crucial, right? You can't just practice in isolation.
Absolutely not. You need structured feedback. Ideally, find a mentor, a trusted colleague, maybe even a language coach who can give you honest input on your professional communication. And don't just ask, how did I do? Ask specific questions. Was my explanation of the budget clear enough? Did my tone sound collaborative during that negotiation? Even better, if possible and with permission, record yourself in a real or simulated professional interaction and review it together. That's where the deep learning happens. You have to see feedback as a gift, not criticism.
Yeah, shifting that mindset about feedback is huge. What about the common roadblocks people face when they actually try to implement this stuff? What are the big ones?
I'd say the top 3 are probably just plain nerves, feeling like they don't have enough time, and that fear of feedback we just talked about.
Okay, quick solutions for those.
For nerves, start small. Practice new techniques in lower stakes situations first. Use the 3-second rule in an internal team meeting before trying it with a major client. Gradual exposure builds confidence. For time limits, embrace micro practices. Those tiny pockets of time during the day. Waiting for a meeting to start, walking to get coffee. Review your phrase, bank on your phone. Mentally rehearse an upcoming conversation point. Every little bit helps. And for feedback fear, keep reminding yourself. Constructive feedback is data for improvement. It's not personal. It's the fastest way to see your blind spots and accelerate your growth. Reframe it as essential fuel.
Okay, reframe feedback as fuel. I like that. Let's make this even more concrete. How would these tips look applied in, say, a typical professional email?
Okay, a good professional email embodies clarity and conciseness. The subject line itself should be informative, maybe even a call to action. Not just update, but something like, action required. Feedback needed on Q4 marketing plan by EOD Friday.
So the recipient knows immediately what's needed and by when.
Exactly. Then the body of the email is brief, gets straight to the point, attaches necessary documents clearly labeled, and reiterates the call to action or next steps at the end. Minimal fluff, maximum clarity, the 5 C's in action.
What about a verbal exchange, like in a negotiation? How would tone and EQ play out?
Let's say you receive an offer that's not quite right. Instead of a blunt, no, that doesn't work, you'd use a more guarded, diplomatic tone, applying EQ. Something like, thank you for providing this detailed offer. We appreciate the work that went into it. Based on our requirements, particularly around X and Y, we'd need to see some adjustments on the payment terms to make this mutually beneficial. Could we explore options around that?
So you're acknowledging their effort, stating your needs clearly but politely, and inviting further discussion, protecting the relationship while holding your ground.
That's the goal. Assertive, but respectful and collaborative in tone.
For listeners wanting to go even deeper, maybe structured learning or specific tools, what resources came up in the research?
Well, for more formal development, courses like those from Harvard Professional Development or similar institutions offer structured programs on business communication. For pronunciation and fluency practice, apps like ELSA Speak can be really helpful for targeted feedback. If mastering difficult conversations is a priority, the book Crucial Conversations is basically required reading. It gives fantastic frameworks for high-stakes dialogue.
Okay.
And of course, consistently consuming high-quality professional content-relevant podcasts, specific YouTube channels focusing on business English or public speaking, helps keep these skills top of mind and provides ongoing learning.
Great resources. Okay, let's move to the really inspiring part. Seeing these skills make a real difference. We got some powerful stories of transformation. Let's start with the classic, the speech that saved Nike back in 1972.
Phil Knight. Yes, this is a fantastic example of clear, heartfelt communication under immense pressure. Their main supplier basically cut them off overnight. Disaster looming. Knight could have given a dry, corporate speech. Instead, he reportedly scrapped his notes and spoke directly and emotionally to his small team. He didn't just present the problem, he reframed the crisis as their moment of independence, their chance to build their own brand. He was clear, concise, and crucially, his conviction was authentic. That speech, combined with launching the Cortez shoe, essentially rallied the troops and arguably saved the company. It shows how powerful, clear, passionate leadership communication can be.
Preparation meets authentic delivery. Okay, next up, a story about strategic communication building a whole tech scene. The strategy that built Austin's tech hub in 1983.
Right. This was the Battle to Land MCC, a big tech consortium. Dozens of cities were competing fiercely. Austin's winning pitch wasn't just about tax breaks. They did their homework, preparation, and understood the key decision maker, Bobby Inman, was deeply concerned about attracting and retaining top talent, meaning quality of life was paramount. So, in their crucial breakfast pitch meeting, they focused their message cohesively on Austin's strengths for employees, the schools, the culture, the housing. It was a complete message tailored precisely to the decision-maker's core concern. Inman reportedly made his decision right there. It's a masterclass in understanding your audience and crafting a cohesive, concrete message around their needs.
Amazing. Okay, let's bring it down to individual transformations. Tell us about Yulin, the accountant in NYC.
Yulin's story is really about the power of consistent, focused effort. She was technically skilled, a senior accountant, but struggled with confidence and fluency in English meetings after joining a new firm. It was causing real anxiety. She committed to a 9-month self-improvement plan. Daily immersion, joining specific programs or groups focused on professional English, even starting study groups to practice industry terms. Crucially, she pushed herself to speak up in meetings, applying the strategies even when it felt uncomfortable. She sought feedback. And over time, as she said, the butterflies were gone. She went from feeling paralyzed to confidently contributing. It shows that deliberate practice really does transform ability and confidence.
Consistency pays off. And sometimes it's about mastering one specific element, like with Charmin's pace control.
Yes, Charmin's challenge was very specific. She spoke too quickly, especially when presenting data, making her hard to follow. This is a common issue. She focused intently on Strategy 9, slowing down, enunciating clearly, using pauses strategically. It wasn't about learning new vocabulary. It was purely about controlling her delivery pace. Mastering that one element made a huge difference. She became much easier to understand, her colleagues were more engaged, and her professional standing improved noticeably. A very practical, focused win.
It shows you don't have to fix everything at once.
Okay.
And these skills can ripple outwards too, right? Like with Rosette's content creation leap.
Absolutely. Rosette's story highlights how overcoming communication anxiety can unlock entirely new paths. She initially had a real dread of any kind of public or professional speaking, but as she worked on these communication skills, focusing perhaps on mindset shifts alongside the techniques, her confidence grew dramatically. So much so that she felt empowered to launch her own wellness business. And she became a successful content creator on platforms like YouTube and TikTok platforms that require constant communication. It shows that building these skills isn't just for your current job. It can be truly life-changing.
That's incredible. And finally, Jintar's life change seems to sum up that broader impact.
Yes, Jintar's experience emphasizes that these aren't just work skills. She found that improving her professional communication helped her land a job, yes, but it also led to feeling more courageous and positive in her everyday life, in all sorts of interactions. It underscores that being able to express yourself clearly and confidently is fundamental to, well, navigating the world effectively and feeling good about yourself.
Wow. Those stories really drive home the potential impact. So, wrapping this deep dive up, the main message seems clear.
It really boils down to this. Improving your professional English communication is definitely a journey, not an overnight fix. But it's an incredibly rewarding one.
It takes work, consistency, but the payoff, that career superpower we talked about, is huge.
Exactly. And you don't need to tackle all 14 strategies and 6 tricks tomorrow. The key is to just start.
Right. Pick one thing.
Just one. Maybe it's active listening. Maybe it's working on conciseness in your emails. Maybe it's starting that phrase bank journal. Commit to that one small action.
So the question for everyone listening is, what's your first action going to be? Will you start that phrase bank tonight? Will you try shadowing a video on your commute tomorrow? Your breakthrough really does start with that first step. This has been incredibly insightful. Thank you for breaking down such a crucial topic.
My pleasure. It's vital work for anyone looking to succeed professionally today.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive on communication skills in professional English. Keep practicing and thrive professionally. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.